Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are awesome sauce. They are all over the world. So if you need to get into a therapist, go to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez, fill in some questions. They will find a therapist that can counsel you in whatever country you are in, or if you are in the US of A. You've got therapists all over the place that belong to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez, and they will find a licensed professional master's level or PhD level in your state. So thank you, BetterHelp.com. Yay. Thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay. So announcements. I will be in Santa Barbara on February 18th. So if you are interested in that, go to chrisgodinez.com. I will also be in Vancouver on May 20th. So Vancouver, BC on May 20th. Those tickets are available on chrisgodinez.com. So very excited to introduce my guest. But one thing, I want to do the current events. So current events. Something that has come to my attention is the lack, well, I mean, it's always been there, but it's the lack of compassion and it's the lack of gratitude that abusers have. And if you look at any abuser, you know, whether that be a dictator or whether that be a police officer that's beating somebody while they're screaming for their mother, or whether it be, you know, the abuser that is abusing your family, you know, they have no compassion, none, zip, zero, zilch, nada. And they have no appreciation for the beauty that is right in front of them. They don't appreciate anything. So when you are looking at the news and you read things that are just horrifying, like, you know, dictatorships or police officers' brutality or politicians not caring about their constituents or whatever, you are witnessing disordered people. That's all I can say about that, is that if somebody in a position of power has no compassion and no appreciation, no gratitude, they shouldn't be in a position of power. And again, we the people are the only ones that can kick them out. So I just wanted to remind you of that. So anyway, all right. Today, I have got my buddy, Marcia Diane. She is a licensed professional counselor. She is also LISAC, Yes, LISAC, which is licensed independent
substance abuse counselor.
Thank you. There's so many letters. I'm like, what do they all mean?
Yeah.
So
all addictions.
Oh man, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. So she has written a book. She has got a mastery program. It's called Essential Mastery. And her book can be found on marciadiane.com. So John, if you could /books. John, if you could put marciadiane.com up there so that they can find her, and then /books if they're interested in the book. So a lot of people have been asking me about karma. A lot of people have been, you know, like, why did we get involved in? Now you guys realize I'm a Buddhist. So why did this happen? Why is this happening over and over again? You know, what's the deal? So can you talk a little bit about your book? Because I think it would be really helpful for those of us who believe in karma and etc. So
thank you, Chris. Yeah. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm so excited you're here.
Thanks for being here and listening. I'm very excited to be here. It's actually my first podcast, so
you're gonna do fine.
That's my main voyage. This is the book that I wrote when COVID hit. So COVID hit and took everybody down, and it took me to my computer and had me pour out my heart and soul of all these things that I've been wanting to tell people. I have a private practice now after working 20 years in agencies. And so I'm so glad to just work with people one-on-one or couples because there's so many things that people don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So the book is called Thriving in Unprecedented Times. And these are indeed unprecedented times in a number of ways, not only from COVID. How to resolve karma using timeless techniques. So I'm fascinated by karma. And so I will tell you a little bit about that. Some people think karma is just what goes around comes around. And that's the basics, I guess, of karma or the law of cause and effect. But there's so many intricacies to what karma really is. So basically, karma is what drives this physical world. It's what makes us move forward. It's what propels us, good or bad.
Right.
And we get to change our karma really at any time by changing our mindset, which changes our emotions and helps us change our actions.
Right.
And it's changing our actions that changes our karma.
Exactly. And I think that is something that we often get hit with. It's like, why is this happening? And why is this happening over and over again? And what is going on? And, it's confusion. It's like, I know for sure, it's like looking back at my family, I was just kind of like, why did I pick these people? What the hell? So, but honestly, if I didn't have my dad as my dad, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. And I wouldn't be helping people. So there's always some weird reason. And karma is not just, oh, that's the other thing. People often who've gone through abuse, they're like, but I want to see them get theirs. Oh, I want to see them get theirs. And karma doesn't always happen in our lifetime, guys. It doesn't. So watching somebody else get what's coming to them, we may never see. And it's not really our job.
So you just brought up a whole host of topics.
Okay, cool. Go for it.
Okay, so one thing it's important to know is karma follows us life to life. So it's important for me to understand that reincarnation is real, because otherwise, if you just have this one life, some people just have 2 days, some people have 2 years, some people have 20, some people 100. Why all that difference? And it doesn't seem fair if you just get the one life and then you're done and then you go to heaven or hell. That never made any sense to me. But once I delved into spiritual teachings, and I'm not a Buddhist, I studied Buddhism and many, many, many other spiritual paths. So my teaching is kind of a conglomeration of a number of different paths. And in this book, I like to quote different sources, different teachers across countries, across cultures, across time, that a lot of times say the same thing. So you get a lot of that and interwoven with my thoughts about a number of different topics. And then there's stories that follow each section. So there'll be a topic and a story. The story will kind of illustrate in personal detail how it plays out. All the stories are correct. All are accurate. None of the names are accurate. I've changed them to protect the innocent, and sometimes changed a couple of the details around it so nobody could figure out who I'm talking about.
Right.
But I think that's really important. What I'd like to do is start off by kind of giving you a rundown of what this book contains, because there's so much interesting information in here that I don't think is found really anywhere else. So there's 3 parts to the book. The first part is reality, personal, and universal. I get into karma defined. So what is karma and all the ins and outs of that? Self-authority, how you can gain self-authority, which is really important, especially if you're a victim of abuse, because you don't want to continue to be the victim. You want to now become the hero of your story. And the self-authority part really can help you with that. The next part of part 1 or section is flight, from flight, fight, or freeze to flow.
Yes! Yes! Because we get so stuck in that.
Right.
We get so stuck in that. So this is something, honestly, that we've been talking about quite a bit, is that when we get triggered, we get stuck in either the freeze, the fight, the, whatever. And years later, like I know for me, when I get triggered, I gotta go straight to fight. I do. It's like, bring it, and I'm just like, what the, yeah.
It's a brain chemistry thing.
Mm-hmm.
Our brains will produce these chemicals when we feel threatened. I'm a flight person. I'm not a fighter like you. I mean, I'm a fighter, but I'm a quiet fighter. Yeah. But I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm not going to deal with this.
Right.
Because part of my karmic path or place that I'm in right now is I don't want to create more karma.
Right.
I want to be loving. I want to be a channel and a vehicle for God. That's a big part of who I am. And so fighting sometimes gets me in trouble, because when I was younger and a teenager especially, I did a lot of fighting.
Right.
And that was not good for me.
Right.
I've also had a lot of abuse in my past, starting with my dad being overbearing, OCD, like controller, and then all of my boyfriends and husbands kind of followed suit.
And this is, isn't this interesting? So both of us have had families of origin that were abusive or had issues or whatever. And that inner child inside of us looks outside and goes, oh, hey, somebody who kind of reminds me of them. Let's go for it. But deeper, they feel comfortable. They feel familiar. So that, remember what I talked about, guys. If it feels familiar in not a good way, You need to read this book. Yeah, totally agree.
Life gives us clues all the time,
Yeah.
but we don't know how to look for them. We're not paying attention. We're just trying to fight, or we're trying to flee, or we're trying to
Survive.
do whatever our
Yeah.
patterns are. And our patterns and karma are kind of the same thing. Our karma creates our patterns, and we get stuck until we decide we're going to get unstuck. And that's not the easy way, but it is the better way, because that can help us to go wherever it is that we want to go. I write a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the part 2 is a lot about what you're talking about. It's called Seeing and Overcoming Challenges. And it gets into personal challenges, opportunities that you can take to get out of whatever situations that you're in, and then a lot about past lives and reincarnation. Because it's really important to understand that, to understand why you're in the position that you're in and what you can do about it, and how you cannot repeat that in this life and in your next life and the next and the next and the next.
Exactly.
And how you can also cut off those ties to the
Yeah.
perpetrators.
Yes.
Because the perpetrators don't have to follow you if you say no more and you clean up that thread or that tie to that person.
Exactly.
Or to that archetype, really.
Well, and not just that, but when you're dealing with a crazy abuser, like a dark triad, like they're psychopathic, they're narcissistic, and they're Machiavellian control freaks, they don't want to relinquish control. And so they do all of these mind games that makes the target of abuse feel like they can't get rid of them. Like they're living up here like a freaking alien parasite.
Right.
Yeah.
Sucking your energy.
Sucking your energy.
Sucking your happiness and confidence.
Yeah.
And all the good things that you want to develop.
Yeah.
So yes, first you have to disconnect and you have to protect yourself from them. I'll just give a little tip on protection, because we all need protection. This is one of the first things I teach my clients in my private practice. I call it grounding and shielding.
Yes.
So grounding yourself to the earth, because we are in many things, but partially we are electrical, and all electrical appliances need to be grounded. So in a nutshell, if you just sit and do like a little spiritual exercise and imagine from the bottom of your spinal column connecting like with a cord to the earth.
That's your first chakra. That's what she's talking about.
Right.
Is the first chakra.
Your root chakra.
Your
but
root
that
chakra.
connects to all the other chakras and to your entire body.
Yeah.
So you ground yourself. And you do that until you really feel that.
Right.
And it's important to not just think it, but to put it into action and to feel it.
Which is why meditation is so important, guys. This is what I keep talking about. It's like meditation is not just om and crossing your legs and whatever. It's literally reconnecting with your body, because how out of our bodies are we after we've been abused? I don't know about you, but I was floating like 4 feet above my body. I wasn't even in my body. I was completely unconscious. So it's about getting back in your body, reconnecting with your body, reconnecting with the earth, and mindfulness. This is all part of mindfulness. So this isn't just woo-woo, oh my God, let's just go out into the metaphysical. This is mindfulness. It really is. So.
I call it practical spirituality.
Or practical spirituality.
Because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. I believe that. We are who we are as soul. That's the part of us that goes life to life to life.
Right.
We don't take our body, obviously, that goes into the ground and decays or gets burned up or whatever you do with it. But our minds, our subconscious, and our emotional system, our astral body, some people call it, some of that can follow us, but a lot of times it doesn't, especially as you go up the ladder from one level to another, one realm to another. And ultimately, I believe, and because I've experienced this, we will enter and live in the soul planes, in which all those lower bodies are no longer available.
Right.
That's when you've achieved overcoming all of this crap that you've been through.
Right.
Good news is you can overcome it, and there's help that knows how to do it.
Right.
So, briefly, the third part of the book is called Harnessing the Dragon. So how do you harness your inner dragon? Remember in the movie Avatar where, the guy jumps on the dragon and he connects to the dragon with his ponytail to the dragon's tail or whatever it is, and they connect. And you can connect to this really powerful part of yourself. So I get into that.
And that's the thing that's important, guys. You're not a victim. You're not. You have been victimized, to be freaking sure. The abuser is a douchebag. I'm trying to watch my mouth here because I can't swear because I have a sponsor. But I swear like a sailor. But you have power. You have power. Nobody knows you better than you. The abuser loves to tell you, oh, I know you better than yourself. Screw that noise. You know you better than yourself. This is a great way to start tapping into your own power. Go ahead. Sorry, I just had to say that.
You know yourself, but you don't know enough about yourself. You don't know the power of yourself yet. And the more you
and trusting it.
And trust is really important.
Yeah.
Trust and surrender to the higher power,
Yeah.
whatever your higher power may be. I get into visionary leadership. I get into chakras as portals. So some of you know we have chakras along our spine and even out of the body and even in our hands and feet. Don't really get into that in the book, but our chakras are portals to the space outside of ourselves, and we can connect to various places through these portals, and we can do, spiritual exercises to release ourselves from the confines of our physical body, which a lot of times people want to do if they're in physical pain, but emotional pain too, because emotional pain is kind of worse than physical pain. It's insidious and it just lasts forever and it's totally yucky.
Well, and it also connects us to our protection, because if you look at the chakras, they are connected to the layers of the aura. The aura is what keeps us from it's kind of like that shield that protects us from the energy incoming. And when I ask people to look at, because I do with my clients, I ask them, it's like, okay, you're telling me you're fatigued, you're telling me you're feeling run down. If you were to look at your energy around you, what does it look like? And half the time they tell me it's just tattered, like there's nothing there. And that's because they've had so much hitting them energetically, i.e. the abuser abusing verbally, that there's just no protection left. And so it's really important to ground, reconnect, feel your energy, reform that energy shield, and check in with it daily. So sorry, go ahead.
So the shielding part of grounding and shielding, just to get back to that briefly, is imagining an energetic boundary. So this is your boundary that you're creating. And you imagine that you're like in an egg shape, all like an arm's distance length all around your body.
And underneath your feet too.
And oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So protecting you. And I always tell people to call upon your higher power, whoever that may be. It might be Archangel Michael or Ascended Masters or Jesus or whoever you feel comfortable with,
right.
Your higher power, call that being who's a real being, and they can help you look for holes in your aura, because we can get holes in our aura from past life deaths and all kinds of stuff. So first time I ever did this was when I was doing my internship for getting my degree in counseling, and I was working in a residential treatment center with teenage girls and listening to their stories of horrible sexual abuse and all kinds of abuse when they were children. And so I found this particular technique, and when I started doing it, I started checking. My inner guidance said check for holes, and I found a whole quadrant, like my whole lower right quadrant was either shaky or non-existent. I was like, what? And I realized that was from being killed in a past life with an axe through my kidney up from the bottom. And anyway, so we all have that because we've all lived lots of past lives. Frankly, you might not want to hear this, but we've lived past lives as perpetrators as well as victims, because soul needs to understand and experience all these different things. So I think the good news is your perpetrator is going to be a victim in another lifetime.
But we may not get to see it.
And so, you know what?
That's be clear about that.
That's very important.
Yeah.
And at some point, you might get to the point where you don't even want to see it. You don't want revenge anymore. You just want to let go.
Let go.
And I even got to the place where I wanted to send love to the abusers.
Right.
Even to the politicians who I loathe, who I think are screwing everybody up. I started sending them love. That took a lot of work, because it's like, I don't like this person.
I'm not quite there yet.
It's kind of fun after a while, though.
What I finally got to, though, and I had a hard time with it, is I wish them enlightenment.
Okay.
Because that can be painful too. So it's like, I wish you enlightenment.
Right. Well, I mean divine love. I don't mean personal love.
Yeah. Yeah. No. More like agape. Yeah.
So just to finish up talking about the book, because I don't know what time.
We got 10 more minutes.
Okay. So I do talk about mental illness in this book and its relationship with karma, and also about abuse and domestic violence.
Which I think is important to read. So honestly, I think this book is really great, and it obviously goes along with my belief system. So this is a great book. If you're interested in karma, if you're interested in chakras, if you're interested in healing, Something I did want to mention is that what I tell my clients when they're dealing with the connections with the I call them hooks because it looks like an octopus who's drawn like that to them. I have them imagine a psychic Dyson or whichever your favorite vacuum is. And then I go, okay, imagine someplace safe. You're standing there. You've got a magic psychic Dyson. You're going to take the Dyson and you're going to vacuum off all of their energy and you're going to fill it up. And as soon as the Dyson is completely full, you're going to put it in a big, huge ball and you're going to hit it up and you're going to punt it out over the ocean. Sitting in front of you is a TNT plunger. You're going to plunge that TNT and all that negative energy is going to go right back to them.
I like it.
And then you fill yourself up with your own energy. You call your own energy back that they have stolen because abusers, I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not, they're notorious. They're like psychic vampires, right? They're notorious for just sucking us dry. And when we're with them, we feel exhausted, we feel fatigued, and we're like, what's going on? Well, they're taking all our energy. So if we're dealing with an abuser who's a narcissist, who's a psychopath, who's needing constant validation, constant attention, constant this, you are pouring all your energy into this person who's now hoarding it. They're not using it. They're not believing you. They're not listening to you. They're not, they're abusing you, but they don't want you to have the energy either. Isn't that interesting? Abusers don't want you to have anything that they can't have. So if you're giving them all your energy, they're just holding on to it. They're not doing anything with it. So that's why,
or worse, they can eat it like food and refuel to pour it back at you.
Narcissistic supply. That's what she's talking about, is narcissistic. So they take your energy and then they twist things, flip the script, and then shove it back at you. Which is why once you leave an abuser, once you're out of their realm of existence, cutting all those cords, shielding yourself. I know this is out into the land of woo-woo here, guys, but I'm telling you, it works. I'm almost 58 years old. I have been practicing this since I was in my late 20s, okay? It works. It does. So this is why I hang around people like Marcia, Diane. Thank you very much. So you want to get rid of all of their energy, all of their nastiness, all of their cords, all of their BS. Call your own energy back to you. Get rid of anything that reminds you of them. So I know something that a lot of targets of abuse do is they go through that period of self-doubt, like nobody's business. Like, oh my God, did I do the right thing? Did I? Right. And so they have all these pictures and they have mementos. Get rid of them. Everything carries energy. Cleanse the house. Get rid of it. You don't need it. They've shown you who they are. They have abused you. Healthy, normal people do not abuse, period.
So I'd like to bring up another point of how the abusers, when they suck your energy, really damage you. Because we are spiritual beings and God is the creator, we are like a pebble off the mountain. We are creators. Our nature is to be creative. But when we've been in these types of relationships, we have lost our creativity. And it's our creativity that helps us to come up with these types of visualizations, these spiritual exercises, these new ways of looking at things that are our own. So we can use people who've already been through it to give you some ideas, but then you create your own. You make it your own, and then it becomes a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and that's God, we could talk for hours on this. The other thing that a lot of people have been writing in and telling me is like, oh my God, I don't trust myself anymore. I don't have the ability to laugh anymore. My humor's been taken from me, and that's what they want, guys. They want a soul death, and what makes us separate from them is we feel. We love, we have compassion, we appreciate what's in front of us. And like Marcia was saying, it's like we are creative. They're not. They're just mimickers. They can't have real emotions. They wear a mask. They're not genuine. They're not authentic. So of course they're going to try to take your sense of humor, your sense of creativity, your singing voice. I've had some of them tell me they can't sing anymore because they made fun of them singing. Yeah. So anything that was special to you that you used to do and the abuser made fun of it, that's exactly what you need to be doing. Exactly. So
I'd like to talk about a couple more things, if it's okay.
Yep. We got 5 minutes, and then we want to talk about your mastery thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, because I was going to talk about that. Okay, so when you go to marciadiane.com/books, there's many different pull-down tabs. The books has a bunch. I've written 21 books, actually.
Holy crap, woman! Where do you find the time?
Well, it hasn't been, over a short period of time. But this book, Thriving in Unprecedented Times, was written in 2022.
Right.
And published in 2022. But before then, starting around 2008, I started studying Kabbalah, which is a very powerful spiritual program. And I wrote some books that I called visual mantras, but they're using the 72 names of God with all these different prayers that I made up. They're using the power of those particular images because images have power.
Yeah.
And the Hebrew letters have power of their own. So anyway, you can go on my website and look at them and kind of peruse them. They're Kindle books. Some of them are just 10 meditations. So you can pick them on healing or fear or any of the 18 different, I call them daughter books, because there's only 10 in the shorter. They're under $5. So they're super cheap. And they're on Kindle, so you can keep them on your phone and access them when you're in a pinch, when you're feeling terrible, when you don't know what to do. Pull up a meditation, and it can pull you right back into yourself and connect you with your higher power.
And this is huge, guys. And we have a really hard time reaching out for help because we feel like we're a burden, or we feel like, oh no, I don't want to bother somebody. Look, these books are here for you. My books are there for you. Other people's books are there for you. Go get them. Use the resources. Use what you've got. So, because that's why we're here.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your painting.
Yeah.
Chris commissioned me to paint.
She's a painter. Did I mention this? She's a painter.
And a lot of my paintings are also on the website. That's where it started. Then I got into writing. Then I got into teaching a course, which we'll talk about later. But anyway, when I painted St. Michael for you, I had already created these books called, I forgot what they're called, Messages from God Seekers. So 21 Ascended Masters and Messages for God Seekers. So I added St. Michael. First there were 10 for women and 10 for men,
right.
Or 10 men Ascended Masters and 10 female Ascended Masters. Then I put them all together because I thought, why have 2 books? And then I'm like, 21 is a better number than 20.
Right.
So I added St. Michael.
Right on.
Yes.
I love
your
St.
picture
Michael.
is in that book.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And in the Kindle book, I think it's in colors.
I love it. Yeah, I love my St. Michael picture because I asked her to do it because we were dealing with city council members that are very less than honorable, let's put it that way. And they were trying to push through this water park that was going to destroy our neighborhood, basically. And so I said, St. Michael, if you can make this not happen, I swear to you, I will put up a picture in my house. I put up a picture in my house. And they recently tried to do it again. Prayed to St. Michael, and it got quashed. So thank you, St. Michael. Love it. Plus the fact St. Michael's a warrior, so I really love him because he's got the sword. And he goes around, he hacks things off, and the shield. So yeah, the whole warrior thing, apparently I have a thing for. So,
well, I want to add that not only do you have a picture, the original painting, it's 4 feet by 4 feet.
It's huge.
It's huge. So I want to encourage you to do your personal growth work and your spiritual work in a huge way.
Don't be small.
Don't
be small. Yeah.
Because take massive action.
Yep.
And that's a Tony Robbins, whatever.
Massive action. Yeah.
Massive action. That's going to move you forward, propel the needle much, much quicker than just kind of, taking it gently.
So speaking of taking massive action, tell us about your mastery course, because I think this can help people.
Okay. So, a friend of mine came out of nowhere that I met like 40 some years ago. We were good friends and in a spiritual program, and he found out about this way to put a lot of what I do with clients one-on-one into a course and a membership program. So we decided to go in on that together. John's the tech brains. I am not a tech person.
That's like my John.
I'm a right brain, left-handed, creative, writer, artist, and the course creation and all that stuff. I love that part, but to actually manifest and put it up. So anyway, John's helping me with that. Anyway, we decided to call the course Essential Mastery. So that is mastering the essentials of your life.
Yes. So
it definitely gets into helping people to identify what they need to get over, their chronic negative thoughts and emotions. And I mean, it's a 6-module course, very intensive, and it's not going to be available always. I mean, we're doing it in increments so I can focus on the people that come in as a group. So we had a founding member launch, and now we're going to have another launch. Not sure when that's going to be. We're kind of revamping things and making it better, especially making the page where you get to look at what it looks like better. But if you go on my website, the first thing that you'll get to is a way to put your email address and name in there so that you can get on my blog list, which I forgot to say. I produce 3 blogs a month, and I think they're really good. And they address real life problems with spiritual solutions, because that's what I'm all about. Spiritual solutions, psychological solutions, working with all of who you are to master yourself and to get rid of the crap that you've been lugging around with you and that you've allowed to follow you and get into your life.
Right. And a lot of it is a lot of the self-esteem stuff that we got. Oh my God. The lies that have been shoved into our space from the abusers, whether they were parents or whether they were lovers or bosses or whatever. And we believe them. And we don't even know that programming is running.
Right.
That negative inner critic is just running in the background.
And even when you know, it's hard to get rid of. It's hard to change. Like, it all started with me, with my father having to be a perfectionist, having to do everything his way and doing it just so, or I would get in trouble, or I would get punished somehow. That was very unpleasant. And then, of course, I married men that were similar or neglectful. I tried to go the opposite direction, and that also didn't
work. I did that too.
And so being an introvert and being able to do the writing and the art and the course creation and all the stuff that comes natural and that I love to do, because I love to just, get in there and get creative and outflow, like an inflow from the spiritual stuff, and then I outflow. But one of the last things to go was being able to get on camera.
Right.
I never liked my picture taken. I found out in order to promote my course, Essential Mastery, I had to make videos. I mean, it really took me a while I'm comfortable finally making videos.
Yeah.
It took being a substance abuse counselor in treatment centers to be able to be comfortable speaking in front of audiences. It took years. And I'm 72, so I've been around a few more years than you. But you know what? It doesn't matter how long it takes. It matters that you're working toward that goal of making your life better.
Yeah.
And it can get much better. And, the trailblazers, the pioneers, paved the way through the jungle for people who are, coming up behind us. So your way is going to be a lot easier to follow than ours. I wrote my course because this is what I wanted to know when I was in my 20s and suffering and got into, drugs and all kinds of stuff. So,
yeah, absolutely. And that's what we need. And it's so I've known Marcia for years.
It's like 2004.
2004. Yeah, it's almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
Oh my God. But it's like, and this is why you want to surround yourself with like-minded people, because she's awesome. And she's always been a touchstone. And going back into when you're looking for a therapist, these are the questions you should be asking. It's like, what is your experience with spirituality? What is your experience with karma? Because if you get in an abuse, because if you get into a therapist that is poo-pooing abuse or poo-pooing karma or poo-pooing your spirituality, it's going to be a cluster bleep. You know what I'm saying?
You're going to miss out on a lot of important ideas, and you're going to miss out on being able to gain the confidence to explore these things yourself.
Bingo.
Because when people put you down, then it's like, oh, well, that's an expert. I'm not going to, even look into it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's so important that we talk about this part of it, because I know some people are just like, oh my God, you can't talk about spirituality and therapy. Why not?
I do.
What I do.
I always have.
I always ask. It's like, hey, are you interested in going there? And if they say yes, I'm like, sweet, here's what I know. Here's what can help. So that's like the psychic vacuum and all of that, because that's what worked for me personally. Yeah. So, and honestly, I think that's the best kind of therapist, who takes their eclectic point of view, mixes it all up, and is going, okay, try this. Let's see if this works for you too, because it worked for us. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's go to the questions. It looks like we do have some questions here. Do we have questions? No questions, John? I guess we don't have questions. Well, if you guys have questions, then we can get some questions going. Okay,
what would be a question you would have for me, Chris?
Well, my question would be, what should, oh wait, here comes in one. Oh, I need to make this bigger because I don't have the right glasses on. Oh my God. Okay, I associate spirituality with a lot of the abuses that we have seen and lived through. I have trouble trusting spirituality. How do I reconnect with my spiritual side? This is a darn good question.
So can I answer that?
Yes, please.
I think you might be confusing, and they might be confusing spirituality with religion. They're not the same.
No.
Religion is man-made. Religion is how people have tried to put together what spirituality means. Usually follow a specific leader who's usually like Jesus, but then somehow it gets twisted because people are evil. Not all people are evil, but there's so many, especially when they gain power or want to gain power, they get into twisting it for their own agenda.
So communal narcissist is what she's talking about.
Yeah. And so religions have really perverted spirituality. I'm not saying across the board, I'm not saying there's nothing good in religion, but I'm saying that a lot of times people who profess to knowing from the pulpit are really preaching hellfire and damnation or some other bullshit. I don't believe in that. I mean, I believe you get hellfire and damnation in this life when you have been the victim of an abuser.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's when you're living in hell.
Yeah.
So anyway, I would say just keep an open mind and try to get to a place where you can allow yourself to have an open mind. You can reject, don't trust anything that I say. Test it for yourself.
Exactly.
Look around and see if what I'm saying actually makes sense to you. But spirituality is different. Spirituality is who we are as a spirit, as a soul. It's the universe. It permeates everything.
So I think too, and we're going to go back to your question because I think this is a really good question. I think when we've been abused, it's a soul killing that we go through, and we are disconnected from who we are. I cannot tell you the number of times I have had clients sit down on the couch and they will tell me, I don't even know what I like to eat anymore. I can't tell you if I like mac and cheese because my abuser has told me for years what I like, what I don't like, what's okay, what's not okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, is that we are so disconnected from ourselves. So how can we because you're right, spirituality is an intensely personal thing. It's not religion. It's an intensely personal thing. So how can we reconnect to our own spirituality, our own sense of being? How would you recommend?
Okay. First of all, I have a little different take on your comment about soul killing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can kill your soul. I think you can start it up. I think you can muffle it. I think it's going to just shut down when you're not paying attention to it, or you keep not listening to what, spirit is telling you, which is to get the F out of that abusive relationship. But, we need to go through the crap that we have to go through, unfortunately. And I want to put this out there. It's a little off topic, but I don't know if you've ever heard of Dolores Cannon. Do you know Dolores Cannon? Oh, so Dolores Cannon, who lived to be 84 and she died like 10 years ago or so, she took people into deep hypnosis, into a theta state, and interviewed them and regressed them into past lives and in between lives, and got them to speak their truth about where their karma came from.
Wow.
And some of them said, and she said, because of she did this for 45 years and interviewed over 45,000 people and recorded their interviews, and all this stuff is put into 19 books that have been published, more books that haven't been published. But anyway, she's a wealth of information. And she says that souls line up to be incarnated into bodies that are going to be abused or that have cerebral palsy or some terrible physical ailment, because that's how they work off their karma quicker. So as soul, these people have agreed to come into these horrific situations to learn things. So that's a real different way of looking at things.
Right.
But maybe it can give you hope that, because you found yourself in this family or with these people and you've gone through all this crap, that there's a reason for it. And that when you get out of it, you can start seeing those reasons a lot more clearly.
Which is also not victim blaming. I want to be very clear about that. These are just things that, Marcia finds that works for her, things that I find work for me, belief systems. It's not written in stone, guys. It's kind of up to the individual, and that's what I'm saying. If something doesn't work for you, you don't have to accept it. You can find your own spirituality. And going back to your question, for me, finding my connection to the spirituality was meditation, and being out in nature. I'm not even kidding you. Like walking through the woods, getting out onto a beach, getting back into nature, getting a dog, seriously, I'm not kidding you. It's like connecting with other sentient beings and things and, trees and stuff and things, life forms. Thank you. That really helps us reconnect to what's important to us. Right. And I think the abusers, like you said, they muzzle us. They're like, and so really reconnecting to that, whatever is going to charge your batteries is what you need to be doing. And getting back to give yourself permission to feel, give yourself permission to experience that joie de vivre, that childlike wonder of, wow, look at that redwood. Whoa, that's huge. That kind of thing. And that's what they take away from us. So, yeah.
And it's up to you to regain that.
Absolutely. Okay.
Can I mention one other thing?
Sure.
About spirituality and religion?
Sure.
Some people have been abused by their religion, like ritual abuse.
Yes.
So cults. It's not only, parents, clipping your wings and telling you, you can't have sex before marriage, you're going to hell. I mean, that's one thing, but some are way more severe. And my heart goes out to those people. They really need professional help. And if you need professional help, ask for it. There's no shame in reaching out for help.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But like Chris said, get the right kind of help.
Interview them. I'm not even kidding you. I have no problem when somebody calls me up and says, okay, well, what's your take on religion? What's your take on spirituality? What modality do you use? Where did you get your training? I am happy to answer those questions because you don't want to get with a therapist that doesn't know their a-hole from a hole in the ground. Does that make sense? So, yeah. So, okay. We got another couple of questions up here. How do I handle it when I find myself experiencing joy, happiness, etc., but I get triggered by it and I shut myself down? Oh, we do that. Oh my God. I slip back into those old habits. So how do we break those habits? What do you think?
Oh, that's the work.
That is the work.
Breaking our habits. I think it starts with mindset. I think it starts with talking to yourself in a positive way. Yeah. Recognizing what I call ants, automatic negative thoughts. And who wants to live in a house that's ant-infested, right?
I love that. Wait. Go back. Automatic negative thoughts. Ants. Oh my God. That's fantastic. I love that.
So you need to kill the ants. You kill them by incorporating a lot of positive thinking. One of my favorite free mentors in positive thinking is Abraham Hicks. Mm-hmm. You know Abraham Hicks? Mm-hmm. So lots of YouTube videos, and you can put Abraham Hicks in YouTube and then the topic, because she's got thousands of things. So Abraham Hicks spirituality, Abraham Hicks anxiety, Abraham Hicks abuse, stuff like that. You'll get her talking about where this comes from, and also positive affirmations. But saying positive affirmations over and over and over and over and over, for at least 21 days. It takes 21 days for new neural pathways to be formed in your brain. So the physical part, and you want to, keep going until it's just I've overcome a lot of my negative thinking, and now I do, because we're going to think all day long. Our minds are very active when we're thinking. So now I'm thinking, I love myself, I love my work, I'm happy, I'm full of energy, I'm confident. I mean, I'm still talking to myself like this because
inner cheerleader, instead of the inner critic. Yep. And that's why I talk about mirror work. That's why I say it's so important to start the day with, hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to feel happy. So you're breaking that bond of non-permission, and you're giving yourself permission to feel happy. And when you notice yourself feeling happy, it's okay for me to feel happy.
And I choose to feel happy. I choose a lot because that gives you the power.
Or I get to feel happy.
I decide what happens.
I decide this. I could throw some middle fingers, I would. No, seriously, because our abuser doesn't want us to feel. They don't want us to be happy. They don't want us to have anything that they don't have. So, and they make it, what's the word I'm looking for? They make us wrong when we have genuine emotions. Mm-hmm. And the genuine emotions they hate the worst are us crying because, we're holding them accountable for hurting us, or us being happy because it's a genuine emotion they can't feel. So
part of it is disconnecting physically from those people who are abusing you. So they're not in your space anymore.
Not even in your space.
Then you got to disconnect mentally.
Yes.
You've got to say, nope, that thought, that's not my thought.
Yep.
Did I choose that thought? Nope, I don't want to think that thought. And tell that thought, take a walk, take a hike, throw it up into the sky, throw it into the molten core of the earth.
Yep.
Whatever.
Light it on fire. Watch it go running off.
I mean, I have all kinds of, once you get your spiritual juices flowing, it will tell you what to do that's right for you.
Right.
Like one of the things that I came up with a long time ago that I thought was really cool is I would collect all the negative thoughts into a ball, and then I would throw it into the air and see them like blackbirds just flying out to the sky.
Yeah, they're not yours.
Or fireworks, and then
they're not yours.
Exploding, like you said.
Yeah.
So we had a similar one on that.
Exactly. And I think humor is huge. I think, the old saying, the devil runs from laughter. So if you can find the humor in the negative thought, like I said, lighting it on fire and watching it run off, it's run back to the abuser. There you go. It gives you power because they can't stand it when we're happy. They can't stand it when we're laughing. They can't stand it when we make fun of them. And it's different than resisting. So remember, you don't resist a thought. It's not, no, I don't want to think this thought. It's you acknowledge it. It's like, oh yeah, there it is. I don't like it. And guess what? It's not mine. So lighting it on fire and letting it run back to the abuser. Bye-bye. Go pound sand. Bye-bye. So yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's see what the next question is. How do I get started with meditation? I find myself getting really distracted and having a very hard time letting myself sit quietly.
So there's a name for that. We call it the monkey mind. Your mind's just like a monkey jumping all over the place, and don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just come back.
Yeah.
And, there's different forms of meditation. This is one of the things I talk about in my course, Essential Mastery, that we didn't talk about too much.
I'm sorry. We had a lot to talk about. Come back. You're going to have to come back. You know this, right?
But there's a number of different types of meditation. Meditation, to me, evokes like an Eastern form of meditation where you sit quietly and still your mind. Western mind doesn't get still.
No.
We're Westerners. It's just not going to happen.
No.
There's also contemplation. Contemplation would be when you read a passage in a book that's inspiring to you, whether it be one of my books or some other book or the Bible, if you're not, turned off by religion or whatever. Find some passages that really, make you feel good, and then just close your eyes and just mull it over. Think about it. Some people use mantras, just singing certain sounds. There's many different sounds that really can evoke a sense of peace. And so you can do that. In my course, Essential Mastery, I do a form of guided meditation. And I also do hypnosis and past life regression, which requires deep hypnosis. But in my 6 modules, each module will have a 15 to 20 minute spiritual exercise. I call it transcendent spiritual exercise. But I take you into a deep state of relaxation. And if you don't trust me, you can listen to it first. And then before you allow yourself to go into that if you want. Yeah. I don't care.
And I wonder, that's a part of it, though. It's the trust.
It's trust.
Yeah.
But see, when you start doing meditation, you got to learn to trust yourself or trust your higher power or come up with a higher power, come up with, archangels, angels. And you know what? This is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It could take decades, not to necessarily move the needle, but it's like growth, like organic growth. Like if you look at it, if you live with a child and you look at him or her every day, you don't see the growth. But if you go away for a year and come back, you see lots of growth.
Yeah.
Right. So you move the needle a little bit in your own growth. And then, we're elastic. Our brains are elastic. So we go back and, I call it life being a dance, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Oh, yeah.
But, hopefully 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But eventually, as you continue to do the work, you will make progress and you'll begin to see that progress.
Exactly.
Journaling is really important, too.
Yes. Well, why is your mind going? Where is it going to?
Right.
So the most important thing, though, throughout that whole process is no judgment. Do not judge yourself. It's going to happen. Like when I sit down to meditate, I'll get 2 seconds of no thoughts. And then it's like, oh, I need to go grocery shopping. I'm out of hummus. It's just like
It's
stupid.
the nature of the mind.
Like,
So
why am I thinking about hummus?
I say let's employ some acceptance.
Yes.
Accepting our mind the way it is, accepting our life the way it is, our
Yeah.
emotions, all of what we have to do, just accepting that's the way it is.
And finding the humor in it.
You know, in the 12-step program, because I'm a substance abuse counselor, there's a prayer about acceptance. Acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. You know, it's on page 419 of the old book and 447 of the new book.
Right.
You know, if you want to look up that, but accepting that this is the way things are for a purpose.
Right.
This is
it's teaching you something.
Right. In
it's
God's world, there's no mistakes.
Right.
You think there's mistakes because it hurts like the son of a gun.
Right.
But, you know, we learn to stop judging ourselves. I don't say not judge ourselves. I say stop judging ourselves because we're going to judge. We live in a judgmental culture.
When we notice it, though, we've got to be able to go, nope, I don't need to judge myself.
Right.
I need
catch
to.
It.
Yeah, you catch it. And gently. Not like harshly, but just like, nope, I don't need to judge myself. Right. It's okay. Right now, right here, I'm thinking about hummus. I don't know why.
And the opposite of judgment is mercy.
There you go.
Have mercy, honey, on yourselves.
It doesn't need to be harsh and mean.
Right. And you can just say, I'll have mercy on myself. I let that judgment go. Yeah. And, you know, over repetition, lots of repetition, you know, your mind will start to come in alignment with what you want. And
try different forms of meditation. So, for example, you know, the cross-legged Om thing doesn't work for me because my mind is always like, well, and I got to do this and I got to do that. Something I loved was gong meditation. You know, the gong baths where they play the gong. But what I wasn't prepared for was how much energy I had afterwards. Holy shimoly. I swear to you, I felt like I was on like speed because I was like, okay, gonna clean the whole house now. You know, I had all this energy. So
that's a technique for getting to the whole
right. So seriously, it's like try different types of meditation. So there's like the gong meditation. There's the traditional Eastern meditation. There's what's the one where you do the really incredibly lots of deep breathing and it sends you into the theta? It's breathing meditation. I don't know what the name of it is though. But
theta is a very deep state.
Yeah, it was cool.
So it's not easy to get to that state.
Oh my God.
When you get there,
it's trippy.
Come out.
Oh,
it's awesome.
Okay, so we were doing that in one of the classes I was taking. We were doing like the breathing where you take a lot of deep breaths, you oxygenate your blood, and then you just stop breathing for like 30 seconds or 45 seconds or a minute. I will never do drugs because my mind, it was like colors and patterns and all of this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I mean, it was the coolest freaking thing. Yeah. It was really relaxing. Yeah. So, so try different things.
Drugs only take you to the astral plane.
Right.
But there are many, many other realms that are finer and higher and closer to soul than that. And that's where the magic is.
Right.
That's where the deliciousness is.
That's a good way to put it. It was delicious. It was delicious meditation. I like that. It seriously was. It was the trippiest thing I've ever done. And I'm like, I got to do that again. That was so cool. So try different things, guys. Try different types of meditation. Be nice to you. Be gentle. It's not always going to be, you're not always going to be able to focus. And on those days when you can't, you just notice it and write it down. Well, what does this mean? Why am I focusing on this? What's going on? You know, that's it.
Get to know yourself.
Yep. Okay. If I had a miscarriage, where is my baby? Is it a soul? I grieve the loss almost daily. Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry. I think of lost children being part of the floating, ever-connected universe. I don't believe in spiritual or religion. I don't feel like I will unite with the losses on the other side. That saddens me. But is it also acceptance? I would say, yeah. For her, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a level of acceptance. I would just continue to be open-minded and continue to take your journey. You know, some people have spontaneous spiritual experiences from out of nowhere, you know, and then you can just go down that path and, you know, and two, my heart totally goes out to you. I can't think of anything worse than losing a child, whether it's been born or unborn. I think it's horrible. So take the time you need to grieve, and also take the time that you need to be in nature and have fun and laugh, and, you know, don't feel guilty just because you're laughing because you had this horrible
survivor's guilt. Yeah, survivor's guilt.
Because your baby that left, maybe they came for a reason. You just don't know what that reason is. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I really believe everything happens for a reason.
And I think something that helps with grief, our society, and I've talked about this before, our society is so messed up when it comes to grieving and death. We treat death like it's not a natural part of living, which it is.
We tell people to just get over it.
And we tell people, no, not even a couple of months, 2 weeks. I had a client who lost a baby. 2 weeks later, the boss was like, you need to get over it. And I'm like, you need to go pound sand, motherfucker. So really you honor, it is a sacred thing, grieving. And I think that's the way that is healthy to look at it. It is a part of life. It is part of death. It is a sacred thing. You allow yourself to grieve and you allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling, and it's okay. And sometimes what helps, doesn't always help, but sometimes what helps is writing a letter to the baby or writing a letter to the person who died and then reading it out loud. Now, for me, when my mom passed, I would just go into my car and drive and pretend to be talking to her on the phone. It was like, hey, Mom, how you doing? I'm leaving a message. Okay, here's what's going on today, And that kind of helped me through the grieving process because I missed her so much,
A technique that we used in the 12-step program was to create what they called a God box. If you don't believe in God, just call it a grief box. But get a box, could be just a shoe box or whatever. And that's where you can put your letters. That's where you can put objects, if you miscarried and had bought some objects for the baby, or, you can put things that remind you of that soul in the box. So this is your precious container for your feelings and your physical things. And then you can pull it out and use it for whatever purposes help you to deal with your emotions.
And if anyone ever tells you to just get over it, tell them to go pound sand and tell them that you can say I said so, because that's BS. That makes me so angry, especially a mom or a dad losing a child. I'm just like, that is not something you just get over.
Well, there's a lot of ignorance in the world. There's a lot of people that just don't know.
They don't get it.
And at some point, you can develop some compassion for everyone. I know you're still working on that. But
that's clearly my journey.
Maybe my extra 14 years on you, I've made that switch.
Well, it makes me so angry because it's another form of victimization. It's like, okay, we're dealing with all of this abuse and blah, 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 blah. Now somebody goes through an incredible, normal, natural process, a miscarriage or, whatever. And now you've got some other abuser making you wrong for being sacred with your own feelings. And that I think this is why I like St. Michael, because I'd like to take that sword and run him through with it. You know what I'm saying?
One of the things that I like about St. Michael and that you can develop for yourself is strength. And resilience. And, no matter how a person, whether they're trying to be abusive or not, are pushing you down or pushing you, whatever they're pushing you, you can use that they're my coach. They're just a relentless coach. But I am going to be stronger and more resilient because of this, in spite of this.
Well, and I think, too, it's, for me, when I've had to deal with people that were like, oh, just get over it, that's when I found my voice. I mean, not like I've ever really had a hard time finding my voice, but that's when I really was crystal clear in my boundaries. It's like, this is a boundary. Do not effing cross it. And if you do, you're going to find out why you shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important for all of us as survivors, is that we've often been told it's not okay for us to have boundaries, or it's not okay for us to say no to somebody when they're being inappropriate. Now realize, if they're abusive, they're going to flip it and make it all you. Like, oh, how dare you still be grieving after 2 weeks? No, a-hole, I'm going to be grieving the rest of my life. It's a process. It doesn't just go away. It's not like we hit a magic number and suddenly everything's okay. We're always going to remember that baby. We're always going to remember that person. We're always going to remember that whatever. But grief is like, how do I explain this? Grief is like, it's always there. It's in the Buddhist way of thinking about it. Living and accepting death is a gentle sadness, is the way they describe it. It's like, you're always going to love that person. You're always going to miss that person. You're always going to grieve their loss, and you're still going to be living, and you're still going to be going on and laughing and loving and everything else. So it's this gentle sadness. So it's a thing.
And to give you a little bit of hope, at some point way down the line, when you have overcome the resentments and the anger and all this stuff that you're dealing with now, and you moved up the spiritual ladder and you're more in touch with yourself as spirit, you can get in touch with that soul. And you can talk to them, and you can listen, and you can hear them. That has happened for people. So I just want to put it out that that's a possibility.
Right.
If you can't do it now, then you can't do it now. But maybe it's not the right time for you. But
gentle with you. Yeah.
Always be gentle with yourself.
Always be gentle with yourself. Always. And don't let other people tell you how to grieve. Okay. Is it common for survivors of abuse, to feel fear, thinking there's not enough time to do the good things? Is it why they rush through life? Ooh, that's interesting. Lack and scarcity.
Yeah, well, as a Russian, a person who rushes, and actually my parents were Russian, but
Oh, that's funny.
but I've always rushed through. I'm a driver. I like to, but what I've learned is slowing down is a beautiful practice. Just slow, taking, a day off a week. In my spiritual or my religion of my childhood, which I totally honor, Judaism, they honor the Sabbath once a week on Saturday. You just take the day off.
Right.
You take care of yourself. You just hang out with your family. You just focus on God. You don't focus on work. You don't focus on all that negative stuff. And then, Saturday night comes. If you want to pick it back up, you can pick it back up.
And I think for me, being raised with an abusive father, he always pushed us. It was always rush, 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 rush. So there was no, and I think this is intentional because I don't think abusers want to think. They don't want to really absorb what's going on. So everything is a push. Everything is a rush. Like, ask John. One of the worst things you can ever do to me is to rush me in the morning. Oh, I'll hurt you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm sitting here and I'm enjoying my coffee and my dog. Back off. Bibbidi bobbidi, back off, So I think part of what we get used to when we've been raised by an abuser is that constant go, 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 go. And it's intentional because they don't want to have to stop and think. They don't want to have to realize that they can't feel. And they certainly don't want us to stop and think, because think about it. If we have the time to stop and think, we're going to go, you know what? I'm not putting up with this anymore. So it's intentional. And I think that we do get this sense of lack and scarcity. Like, there's not enough time, so much to do, so much to see, not enough time. And I think that too is something that our abusers have taught us. Because I know my dad, I don't know about your family. Did they ever do that? Did they ever make you feel like there wasn't enough time and you had to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing? It was almost like an adrenaline.
Yeah.
An adrenaline thing, like they were living off the adrenaline. And that is common, I have found, in survivors of abuse, is that we've got this, well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And it's like, no. What is this thing?
Let's just chill. It wasn't so much go, go, go as it was do, doing.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, I heard this, we're human beings, not human doings. So we should take that's the clue from Frank Sinatra, doobie doobie doo.
Doobie doobie doo. Okay,
so
hold on.
Okay, we still want to do, but we definitely want to be a whole lot more.
Yeah. Okay, that is it. We have actually gone overtime. Marcia, thank you so much for coming out. This was awesome. I hope this answered the question for people that had questions about spirituality, Buddhism, karma, mastery. There we go. Go to marciadiane.com. And you can see all of her fabulous paintings. She's an amazing painter, and her books, 20 books?
21.
How did you do that? Good Lord, I'm still struggling to get my 4th one done. I'm like, I don't have time. Oh my God. So
I'm working on blog number 57 or something like that.
Louise, woman.
They're like little booklets.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
I think my blogs are really cool.
They
I really love you to go and
go check them out.
Go
check them out. Yep.
Life's a learning experience. You're just going to learn the whole time, and just take your time and stop rushing. If it's not happening right away, just go take a break. Yep. I call them bliss breaks. Take a bliss break. Okay, into some bliss.
And stay in the present moment. I think that is the biggest. I think that's why we do the whole lack and scarcity, not enough time, got to do this, got to do that, got to do, not be. So take your time. Enjoy the present moment. All right, guys, I got to go. We are way over time. Marcia, thank you so much. And I'm going to have you back on again. All right, my loves, you guys be good. Next week, we are going to be talking about betrayal. So dealing with the trauma of betrayal. So from parents, from a lover, from friends, from whatever, and how to process and all that sort of fun stuff. So that's what we're going to be talking about. All right, you guys be good. And I'll talk to you next Sunday. Bye. Good job.